Alrighty, how's it going, everybody? Hope you're okay, even though it is a Monday. There's always that. Just gonna hang out a little bit and chat about whatever you want, really. I don't have an agenda today, or plan, or anything. Just got done recording the next video, and before I go to editing, I figured I'd just throw in a stream in between for something else. Yeah, it might be procrastinating on the editing. Yeah, it might be. Yeah, I don't know either why it's so hot. Like, it's like both west and east coast are hot today, but here it's just regular heat wave, kind of, regular 30 degrees with, humidity that makes it feel more like, I think they said up to 40, which is pretty brutal, but West Coast is insane today. Like, what, or the next couple of days too. They have like 35, 38. There's one place in BC that set a heat record, 45 degrees Celsius, by the way. Duh. I don't know what's happening. The West Coast is normally not hot, especially Vancouver Island. It's craziness. I mean, I know what's going on, climate change, but still. Thank you, Nelly Van D, or Day. It's probably Day. D-E. Anyway. A lemon lime parade, apparently. That sticker. Anyway, Toronto's 35 degrees. Yeah, that sucks. 30 is already way too much. Hey, Scott. How are you dealing with the heat over there? I'm just still shocked that it would get that frickin' hot in Victoria, but yikes. That ain't good. You should go out for 5 minutes. How do you know what I've done today? You don't. Just because I'm inside right now doesn't mean anything, really. You're watching the Euros? Nah, I'll give a flying hoot. I was just searching for something good to listen to on the way to the range. That's nice. Haven't been to the range in way too long. It's annoying. Oh, Edmonton is almost hitting 40. Yikes. Ridiculous. $41 after the Humidex. Ouch. Spent my weekend at a mall for the AC. Yeah. Work is rough because the system can't keep up with ovens and external temperature. Ooh. Yeah. That makes it even worse. It's just suddenly, like, actually before today, it's been quite nice here, actually. Pretty good temperatures, and we've been doing quite a bit of hiking lately. Where I live, 50 isn't unusual. Yeah, I'd just be dead, like flat out, just drop. Snow is not so bad now, is it? Yes, it's still bad. It is still bad. Because I don't have to shovel sunshine, if you know what I mean. We have a heat pump in here, fortunately. Did you find the beard a bit stifling in the heat? Not really. I mean, it might insulate a bit, but Actually, when I'm out in the sun, it's nice because then it provides shade. Because then the beard is shade for my chin and my neck. That's actually nice. I mean, sure, completely shaven right now would be cooler, including head, but it's not too bad really. Imagining Vaughn and the Australians laughing at us right now. Well, over there it's winter, so. But yeah, in general, yes. Looking pretty tanned there. I guess, yeah, I definitely got sunburned a couple of times. I don't actually want a tan, but hey, even with sunscreen, you can't entirely avoid it when you're out. Where I live in northern Alberta, it's 33 right now, supposed to be 39 tomorrow. Yikes. Sorry to know, and thanks, MIX King. Oh, thanks Olaf as well. I almost overlooked it. We were born on the same day, just 10 years apart. Don't know what to do with that information other than I hope we had a nice birthday. A nice birthday. I just can't words. Thank you. I appreciate it. Had to shave my head last summer. Wasn't worth it. Can imagine. I mean, it's got benefits for sure. Ever consider braiding the beard? Yeah, I've done that before a couple of times, but it's kind of not really worth it for the most part. Hey, by Canadian standards, it's hot. I wouldn't for a second dare compare anything to the Middle East. I would just literally melt over there. So yeah, Middle East or, Southern America or anything like that, like anything super crazy hot. North Cali advising people to stay indoors due to radiation exposure? Solar flare? Wow. Hadn't heard of that. The humidity is really what kills it largely. I mean, humidity on the East Coast can be pretty freaking obnoxious. Last summer we had a couple of days where it was, what was it, 30, 36? And then the humidity brought it up to a felt 42 or something. Fuck that. Do not want any of it. So, questions, anyone? Yeah, feel free to ask questions. We don't have to just talk about the weather. We can do that if you want. I'm not really opposed to that necessarily. But, yeah, feel free to ask things. I guess it's because I put it in the title, so that's going to be the first thing that people talk about. Where's Devin? Right over there, other room. Yeah, dry heat in the desert. I mean, it's better in that regard, but it's still like, it's so hot. Screw that. Why is the chat not showing on PC? It's not. It should. I don't know. Maybe try refreshing. Let's see. Next weapon you want. Well, I did actually just recently put in a kind of. Is it a pre-order? It's currently out of stock, but yeah, it's basically pre-order for a pair of messers from Landsknecht Emporium. So that'll be nice. Collab with Jörg. Yeah, he sent me the dagger he made a while ago. A while ago, I'd say. It's a couple of years ago by now, I think. You know, the drama dagger that disappeared in the mail at first, and I just got an empty envelope, and he had to remake it and send another one. That was crazy. I'm kind of second guessing my choice to stream right now because I can more and more I can tell that I'm just not really quite there, you know. Whew. I don't know if it's the weather or something else, but I'm kind of like in energy saver mode or something. My brain, at least. Whatever. So yeah, if I'm a little bit lethargic, apologies. Got ideas for magic weather. Oh, you mean like magic weather conditions? Thanks, Birdie. I mean, sometimes you have like magic storms and stuff, right? I don't know. Sparkly pixie dust rain? I don't know. Pixie dust storm? That sounds fabulous, I guess, but I don't know. I've never thought about that. Thanks, Olaf. Have you read The Name of the Wind? It's very good. No, I haven't. Thank you. Thanks, Scott. Would you ever buy an antique sword, assuming you had the money, or do you prefer not to have one? I've had a couple. The thing is always, it's interesting because some things you basically can't get as reproductions. Certain things they just don't make, straight up, at least not high quality. But the problem is always, I'm always worried about damaging them. So I don't really want to do too much cutting and stuff because I don't want to damage an antique. With a reproduction, it's not that big of a deal. You know? Thanks, Frank. Hey, how's it going? Hope your day is going well. Do you have any suggestions for some good mid-range swords in terms of price? Yeah, the day's been okay so far. It's been pretty productive, but yeah, a bit too hot. Anyway, yeah, I'll just straight up refer you to the video series I put up recently. Let me just double check what the exact title was so you can find it more easily. I think it was titled Which Sword Should I Buy? Let me just double check. Yes. Which sword should you buy? Yes. So definitely look that up. And then I have another one. Recommendations? Something. No, that was under 150. I'm pretty sure I've made another video specifically in that budget range up to 500. Right? Did I? Yeah, if you search recommendations or something, or beginner's guide, something like that, you should be able to find it. Thanks, Don. Appreciate it. What is that? What is that sticker? It's like a hippopotamus? Is that what it is? Makes sense, I guess. A hippo. Switchblades, legal in Canada. You mean like the auto knives, basically, that open at the push of a button? No, they aren't. So far, I've been contacted by 3 of the military branches, United States Navy, Army, and Air Force, just the other day. What, out of nowhere? Or did you approach them about, joining or something? Or did they just come out of nowhere, just like, hey, we need more cannon fodder. Want to sign up? I don't know. Don't do it, yeah. Why is grappling never used in HEMA? Oh, it is. But it's different. Some schools either discourage it or just straight up don't want people to do it for safety reasons. Or at least certain aspects of it, I guess you could say. Because the problem with grappling is it can be very high risk. I mean, that's how my ACL got torn as well. So it can be very dangerous with regards to tendon injuries and joint injuries and stuff like that. So not everybody wants to do it in their school for safety reasons. But anyway. No, the Air Force was just the other day. The other 2 were a while ago. Were recruiters talking to me about joining sometime after high school. Yeah. It always bothers me a little bit when recruiters go after young people. Like, I don't want to go on like a anti-military rant or something. Like I'm not dissing anyone who chooses to serve, and in fact a lot of respect to those who do. But this kind of predatory reaching for new meat, fresh meat, I mean, I'm probably a little too cynical maybe, but then again, maybe I'm not cynical enough. So I should have probably gone into a little more detail, but it's just the gears just aren't turning very fast right now. I don't think I can I can really be too eloquent on deeper topics right now. I don't think I have the brain power at the moment. Yay. U.S. government is immoral and involved in warfare for profit, coming from experience in USMC. There you go. You're not being too cynical, says this veteran. Okay. I'll take your word for it. Thanks, Night Sworn. Checking the heat level. Perfect day for the full suit armor test. Yeah, that would be fantastic. Nice. It's basically selling the ideal of becoming a hero without telling the fine print that says, or you could just die in the most horrifying way without achieving anything of significance, or you could have limbs blown off and then return and basically be dropped like a hot potato, being impoverished by your medical expenses and ending up on the street and basically getting a big middle finger in your face for your service. Again, I'm being cynical here, but it's not like that hasn't happened before. If US recruiters call you, just tell them you're diabetic. If politicians want to start wars, let them fight it out in a battle pit. Yeah, I'd have much more respect for warmongering politicians if they actually joined the front lines, you know? Or, you know, if just the heads of state had a judicial duel. At the same time, it depends on what it's over. Like if it's over territorial dispute or whatever, the populace also wouldn't take too well to, you know, their out of shape head of state being shit canned, and then they have to deal with the consequences. I don't know. Recruiters go after young folks who graduate because they're easier to train. Yeah. Good evening from the Czech Republic. How are you? Good evening to you. I'm okay. Just more tired than I had realized earlier. But it's been productive today, so I can't really complain. Just watched a Castlevania video about commenting on another vampire anime called Mars Red. It has some interesting fights too. I haven't heard of that one. Mars Red. Let's see. Okay, looks like a kind of Victorian style, Victorian fantasy. Could be neat. What does IMDb say? Sometimes, you know, the way a synopsis starts is like, this is a tale about humans and vampires. Okay, yeah, great. Like, which tale is ever only about humans? Or only about vampires without any humans? That wouldn't really work, would it? Anyway, 6.3 out of 10. Better than mediocre, I guess. But then again, you can't always trust their ratings. There's that. Thanks, Ugly Goblin. Been casually watching your videos here and there through the years, and just want to show my appreciation. And your appreciation is appreciated. You know what I mean? Do you have any experience or knowledge of Baylor Arms swords? No practical experience so far. They look good, you know, in terms of design and finish based on the pictures, and specifications seems good, especially for the price, but that's all I can say. Thanks, Vodka Lover 420. What architectural style is your favorite? I really like Gothic art style. You know, Gothic cathedrals, for example, are amazing. Really, I mean, yeah. I do like Victorian architecture as well, but not as much as earlier stuff, you know, Renaissance, Baroque. That is some really nice stuff. Very pretty. How do you battle the heat and insects? I mean, the heat pump. If I have to go out, I tend to cover up, because otherwise I just get burned to the point of heat blisters. You know, sunscreen and hat and everything. And yeah, if I have to be out, I basically have to suffer through it because it's miserable. But insects, yeah, spray yourself with DEET and hope for the best, I suppose. Yeah. What else we get? Are there any serrated historical weapons that were commonly used? Commonly? No, not that I'm aware of. It's pretty rare overall. We barely have any insects this year. Where do you live? That sounds great. Hellish Court now has a history mode, which is an infinite string of fights that rewards you with short history lesson every time you win. Huh. Neat. That's a good idea. I like that. Oh, crunch. Those Polynesian tooth swords could be said to be serrated. No, not really. Serration is different. You know, they're more like spiked, I guess. I mean, the thing is that the individual teeth themselves actually are somewhat serrated naturally, but I wouldn't call the weapon serrated for having teeth attached to it. I guess technically it's toothed rather than spiked, but you know what I mean. Stuff. We need a list of the most ridiculous arms and armor you can find from the Renaissance. That would be pretty interesting, yeah. I mean, feel free to make suggestions. Thought of a good weapon of war. You take bulls and tie spiked logs, dragging behind them, and then light the bull's tail on fire and let it rampage the enemy. That's messed up. It's messed up in a number of ways and can also horribly backfire. It's always a problem. This is the same problem as with elephants. You know, if you have war elephants and they panic, they can do as much damage to you as they can do to the enemy, or even more, depending on what's going on. That can go horribly wrong. Huh. That's an interesting question. Do Polynesian weapons show a folk memory of metal swords before they moved to the islands without iron ore? Huh. That's a very interesting question. Perhaps. I mean, I'm trying to imagine kind of metal, like proto versions of those weapons with metal. It could make sense in some cases. Yeah, I mean, if I look at, here, let me just put that up in a picture. Zoom a little bit. If I look at something like this, yeah, I could see that. That could easily be a metal blade, or you know, kind of reminiscent design. Interesting question. I like it. I have no idea. It could be. I have no clue, but interesting thought. Weaponized canoe paddle. Yeah, sort of. Someone I was chatting with in the comments on one of Shad's videos said double-headed battle axes were more common in the Bronze Age and the Renaissance, saying there are more findings of them. True. Yes, there are a number of findings of bronze double-headed axes, but I wouldn't call them battle axes really, because a lot of them are clearly not intended for use. I say a lot of them, it might even be literally all of them. I remember looking into it a while ago. I don't remember the details, but yeah, specifically, let me put this up here. Specifically something like this. You know, this is not a weapon. This is a yeah, ceremonial. It's an artifact for decorative purposes. You know, things like that. Like this is not a weapon. Let me actually, I should open the search there instead of just one picture. There. So something like this. It's not a weapon, it's not a tool. Now this, yes, that is an actual axe. That's an actual, can be a fighting weapon. It's not double-headed, you know, in the sense of symmetrical blades. But yeah, that counts. A lot of the other stuff, you know, here again, it's a sculpture, it's not a weapon. So you got to be careful with that. Yeah, this one is Indo-Persian. Also ceremonial. At least that's what it says. Thanks again, Nightsworn. Any tips or tricks / traps you know in HEMA for demoralization of your opponent rather than outright killing them? End it before blood is drawn. Yeah, there are things you can do. I mean, there are disarms, there are grappling techniques that allow you to take control of your opponent. There's for example, one which is pretty similar to an elbow lock that police use nowadays, and you kind of lead the person around, having the arm locked up and restraining them. That's definitely something you can do. I would think that's demoralizing if they restrain you and just kind of manhandle you and you can't do anything about it. Yeah. Demoralizing things that are not physical. Unscrewing your pommel, I guess. I mean, it is physical, but you're not doing anything to them yet. You're just letting them know that you could. When archaeologists use the word ceremonial, it means they have no clue about the item's actual use. In some cases, yes. In other cases, you can sometimes tell that something was not designed with functionality in mind, but, you know, decorative in whatever way. Religious ceremony can be a way to use a, decorative item, or in some cases it's also novelty items. People have always just made stuff for fun as well. Thanks again, Vodka Lover. Have you heard the story of Guts from Berlichingen or the Iron Hand? That dude was the ultimate Chad. Yes, I've read about him. Pretty badass indeed. And the prosthetic hand was quite well made, actually. I demoralize them by fighting naked. Okay. The Celtic way. Just because they lived hundreds or thousands of years ago doesn't mean they didn't like pretty things. Indeed. What do you think of studying history when people say it has no career opportunities? Well, they are limited for sure. Doesn't mean that there are none. And let me just rearrange my pile of stuff here. It's a little more comfy to stand on. Anyway, yeah, if you want the most reliable, well-paying job in the world, it's probably not going to be it. But at the same time, it's also not the only consideration. Like you also need to pursue something that you actually enjoy and give a shit about, So I would consider that as well. Yeah, I have an MA in history. It doesn't help you earn money, but it enriches your life and teaches you how to study and research. That's very true. Yeah, and that's actually an important thing. Learning, critical thinking and research, source critique and all that. Yeah, it's very useful. It's kind of very essential general skills, Thought prosthetics could be traced to the Romans. Any earlier examples? Yes, there's one. There's actually a prosthetic toe from Egypt. I forgot exactly which time frame, but I think it's 3,000 or 4,000 years old. I think that's the oldest surviving example of a prosthetic. They probably had them longer. Thanks, Void Now. Imagine a 7-foot tall barbarian that lives in a frozen tundra but wanders around a lot. What weapon could you use that doubles as a walking stick? Doubles as a walking stick? Spear. Definitely spear. Or quarterstaff. I mean, iron shod quarterstaff, with reinforced tips, for example. Mainly that, yeah. Could be an axe, yes, as well, with a fairly long handle. Why would an axe being double-bitted ruin your edge alignment? I don't think it would really. Well, in theory, if you think about it in detail, technically having that extra weight means that, if you, as you swing in and impact something, there's this extra weight that could kind of drag a little bit over to the side. You know what I mean? It could technically flip more easily, because you have, that extra weight that kind of wants to tumble and rotate the entire thing. So technically, but if you have a properly shaped axe handle, then that shouldn't really be an issue. Because if you, if it's round rectangular in particular, or yeah, it would be better than oval in this case. If it's well shaped, that you have a positive grip on it and can really control the edge alignment well, then it's probably not really going to be an issue. Was the Sarissa pike heavy? I mean, it's large, it's long, so yes. I don't know the exact weight, but it can't be light. One last thing about double-headed battle axes, then I'll leave you alone about it. I left a comment on Chad's double-headed battle axe video you might find interesting to read. Sorry, I can't look that up right now. This could take a while to find you in there, and yeah, that's a bit too distracting. I would just be standing here for 5 minutes and just trying to find it and ignoring everybody else is not really great. Sorry. Thanks, Mr. CK. Haven't watched content in a while. Just popping in to say your firearms versus armor videos were fun to watch. They were also fun to make. So glad to know. Thanks again, Void Null. Follow up. Imagine Sap Barbarian has a head of a mammoth. The head of a mammoth? Tusks, trunk, and all? Would upgrading the tusks make any sense for him? So like are you saying like a minotaur, except instead of an ox, it's like a mammoth head? I guess he could sharpen the tusks a bit. I suppose one could make reinforcements like metal collars, spiked metal collars that go on top of the tusks, maybe? That's all I got. That's a very specific question. The humble rock, edge alignment not required, indeed. As well as the humble club. How could you categorize types of melee weapon in a group of skills? Swinging an axe and a sword are different skill sets. Yes, they are. You could basically distinguish between, how would you best call that? Basically, top heavy weapons and bottom heavy sounds dumb. Hilt heavy, I don't know. Like distinguish the different balance for one, and then kind of thrusting weapons, pole arms. Yeah, I'm really second guessing my decision to stream right now. Brain is not braining at high efficiency. Is it true that Vikings were in Canada? Yes. L'Anse aux Meadows is one of the places where they found the remains of a Viking settlement. And they just had it temporarily, and then it just didn't work out. It was too much of a hassle, I guess. Dealing with dealing with the natives is one part of it, and the other part of it is, of course, being pretty far from any supply lines. It's also not like they didn't have centralized government or anything like that. So it's a little bit easier when you have an entire state, basically, that can decide to, send more settlers, send more materials, whatever other help is needed, etc. Anyway, what else we got? Do you think the double-headed stone axes of the battle axe culture were used for combat? Probably. The way they're made, they can be hafted and can be used, so I would think so. You ever played RuneScape? No, briefly, but not really seriously, so to speak. Might sound like a weird question, but I've always wondered, do you plan on staying a content creator for the rest of your life? What happens when you get old and can't swing a sword anymore? I'm pretty sure I could still do stuff. I've been doing a lot of content lately that doesn't require actively swinging a sword at the time. So, yeah, I don't have any plans of stopping. Eventually, I don't know, eventually might not be feasible anymore, or YouTube might cease to exist. I mean, not anytime soon, but you never know. Like I can't look into the future, but I don't really have any plans of stopping. That's all I'm gonna say. Nope, haven't played Chivalry 2. Thinking of getting my PAL. Do you think a pistol caliber rifle would be a good idea? 10 rounds as opposed to 5. Yes, I do like that part of it. The 5-round restriction here is just ridiculous. It just makes some models just pointless, essentially. You know, especially like the PS90, which is really neat. I would have liked to have one, but with a 5-round magazine, that's dumb. That's straight up dumb. Plus, it's overpriced. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say overpriced, but it's very expensive here. So, but yeah, there are definitely some good ones. Everybody likes the Tavor, for example. If you're looking for something more affordable, the Keltec sub 2000? I'm not trusting my brain right now, but I think so. Just double checking to make sure I'm not completely derping. Yeah, the sub 2000. That's a good one. Some people hate Keltec. I don't know why. I've had good experiences with them, but I guess they have some gimmicky models, so fair enough. Hand of the Patriarchy, Man at Arms made. Let's see. What's going on with that? Oh, Hand of the Patriarch. Where's it even from? You just have some images? No? Not a thing? Just videos? Right. Wasteland 3. Can I even look at that without YouTube freaking out about copyright and stuff? I'm just looking for a still frame that shows the damn thing. Wait, how big is it exactly? Okay then. That's ludicrous. Let me see if I can show that. That's obscene. That is stupid large. Well, they must have made it hollow. They can lift it at all. I mean, it yeah. Well, that's gratuitous. I mean, I like that they make crazy stuff as well, just to see, you know, is it possible? How is it possible? It's not exactly a practical thing, but hey. It's one of those just because you can doesn't mean you should kind of deals, you know? Okay, well, let me just adjust because it's gotten a little dark here. That's better. Not that there's much to see right now, but you know. Still bothers me when the exposure is all off. Are there no double head hammers in history? Not that I'm aware of. I mean, depends on how you want to classify a maul. You know, there were wooden mauls, which kind of, you know, they protrude on both sides, but they're not really double-headed as such, you know. I'm at work now, loading my truck up with plasterboard. That doesn't sound fun. I'll be back later with more details on bowling ball cannons. Okay, that sounds more fun. Looking more toned. Is the diet going well? Not really. It's kind of fluctuating like crazy. Like, I do really well for, you know, like a week or two, and just very healthy, strict eating and exercise and everything, and then it just completely falls off suddenly. It's basically, I'm still trying to manage the eating disorder in the sense that I know what I've done before, where I just go completely health Nazi basically, and don't have anything, you know, any kind of junk food or treats or anything. I know that that's not sustainable because I've cracked eventually every time. So now I've been trying to just do it as, okay, on the weekend, you know, maybe just Saturday, stuff like that. But every time I do, it escalates. Like every time it's just, yeah, trigger foods basically that just reignite the food addiction, and then I have to painstakingly try to get back on track. Yeah. I still don't know yet how to fucking manage this. It's never been this difficult. But you know what? Fuck it. Let's not talk about that. It's depressing and frustrating and it sucks, so whatever. I found that guy's comment on Shad's video. He makes sure to call Shad names and capitalize random words through the whole essay. Wow. If that's true, then that's a bit of an odd way to do it. Give yourself cheat days. That's exactly what I've been trying, and it doesn't work. I can't. Yeah, anyway. Like I said. Is the Knecht suitable for a smaller person, like 5 feet, to use? Or should they aim for something a little bit more compact? Like in that case, I would say probably the Messer from Landsknecht Emporium that I made a first impression of recently. That might be the better choice because it's a little bit, well, I was going to say it's a little bit smaller. It's a bit shorter and it's quite a bit lighter. It just has a super large crossguard. But, I mean, I don't think it's really a problem. Like, you can get used to the Knecht. And I wouldn't avoid it just because of height concerns. Hard thing about this is that you cannot abstain from the food at all. Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Like going cold turkey would be great, but you can't do it with food. I mean, you can do it with trigger foods, but that's been my main approach so far. But it always fails at some point, just a matter of time. Stop spamming. That gets you timed out. Think of the diet like a job. Yeah, I know. It's more than that. The balance of the Kinect is so good that it can be, I think it can be approached by people of various sizes. I would agree with that, yes. Thought the tiny Skall on your shoulder in the Castlevania video was hilarious. Any plans on bringing tiny Skall back? Yeah, possibly. It works pretty well for this kind of overthinking. This was a good visual representation of that little asshole. Always bitching in the background, you know? Oh, thank you, Grey Clouds. Very generous. Appreciated. Dr. McDougall, Health and Medical Center. Please look into his eating practice. Oh, I know. It's not... I know what to eat. That's not the issue. The issue is losing control over my own eating behavior. Hence the term food addiction. It's not just, you know, getting a bit older and packing on a bit of weight because you're fond of food. If you look at my wild changes over the years, you know, from obese to skinny, back to fat, to skinny, back to fat. Currently it's more like borderline obese, I guess. Well, not quite yet, but I shouldn't even say yet. I don't want to go any further. Anyway, it's a shitty topic. Who cares? Curious what you think would be more general use in combat, a blunt weapon or a bladed one. Depends on what you're going up against. Against armor, definitely blunt. On armor dueling, blade. Thank you for speaking of your struggle. I'm neurodivergent, compulsive eater, recently became disabled due to a neurologic disease, and had to abandon martial arts. Sorry to know. It sucks. I know. It's especially the compulsive eating and any kind of, like, even being to the point of being disabled due to neurological issues, it sucks. I know what it's like to deal with crippling depression. Fortunately, I don't have to fight that anymore on top of other things, but yeah, it used to be pretty bad in my early years, teens and early adulthood. Thanks, Frank. I personally do judo twice a week. And I'm thinking of going back on a low-carb diet. Sounds good. I've had juvenile diabetes for 30 years, and I too struggle with eating. I had to straighten up a few years back, and I'm glad I did. I do miss donuts, though. Yeah. God's damn donuts, huh? Are you back in the city now? Yes. Don't keep food in the house that tempts you. Yeah. Do you think I don't know that? You know what happens? I literally go out in the middle of the night to a store to buy something. That's happened. It's happened before. It's like, I appreciate that people are, eager to try to help and give advice and everything, but I mean, think about it. Somebody who's been dealing with stuff like that for many years, do you honestly think they don't know that? Like, do you honestly think they don't know the theory of how to deal with it? I mean, anyway. I'm not trying to be an ass about it. It's just, it gets old, so to speak. But what that guy said about my comment, I capitalized certain words to communicate emphasis. I didn't name call seriously. I was beginning it with a bit of humor. Fair enough. I guess the other guy just thinks you capitalize too much. I don't know. I haven't seen it, so I'm not really that invested. Kevlar Gambeson sounds cool. Well, it would be cool against firearms, but not really against blades. Because, like most Kevlar vests are designed to withstand bullets. You know, there are some that have both ballistic and stab protection, but limited. And even the high-rated stab, quote-unquote, proof vests, generally the manufacturer says that it's not good against extreme things like a spear or whatever. Like it's against swords. In fact, they even separate spikes and knives, and spikes require a higher protection. So yeah. Do you think that the halberd or can opener is a top superior weapon, including firearms, obviously, against armor? Yeah, sure. I mean, generally, halberds are quite useful if you have the space. But they're, of course, primarily a battlefield weapon and something for guards. It's not exactly a civilian self-defense weapon that you can just casually haul around, you know. So it's great in that regard, but it's limited in its application, or I think more deployment is the word. Thanks, MIX King. If summer stays like this, winter seems best for sword tests. We have some weird gun laws, 5-bullet limit in magazines, but can just remove the peg thing. Oh, removing it is legal? Because here it's not. What's your favorite kind of saber? I do quite like Polish sabers. They're particularly the ones that have both the knuckle guard and the thumb ring. Those are quite nice. Thoughts on Wolflun weaponry? Seems mixed because they have multiple different makers. And so you can't really make general statements about the quality. It can be mixed. Relax, Ezra. I already read out your comment. You don't have to copy paste it another 2 times. I already commented on it, and I really don't care that much. It's like, I know that that's what the other guy said. He thinks that you capitalized too much, but I haven't seen it, and honestly, it's really no big deal. I don't care. Like it's not a problem. Relax. Are belt-fed weapons legal? Yes. Semi-auto belt-fed machine guns are actually legal in Canada. It's a funny thing. But they have to be semi. Not legal, but you can do it. I don't know why it's limited. Okay, yeah. Then that's the same. Yeah, it's pretty easy actually to circumvent, so it's a stupid restriction to begin with, but hey. Politicians, what do they know? Thanks, Frank. I have seasonal depression. In order to counteract that, I try to consume as much vitamin D as possible, which means being in the sunlight constantly and eating lots of fish. Yeah, that helps with it for sure. If you could change one thing about YouTube, what would it be? One thing, just one thing. Fix the subscriptions. Go back to things being based on subscriptions rather than recommendations, because that's a heap of bullshit. The way it is right now, it's primarily based on recommendations. A lot of subscribers don't actually see their subscriptions because they're kind of shoved into the home tab by default, where they get all kinds of crap that I didn't subscribe for. That's kind of the main problem in my mind. Just actually have a significant portion of subscribers actually see your stuff. That would be kind of useful. Now, I understand that a lot of people who are subscribed don't actually watch regularly. I have, a bunch of subscriptions that I don't, of channels that I don't actually watch regularly or at all anymore, but it's pretty, like, the extent of it is pretty ridiculous. I mean, if I'm gonna get, if I'm gonna check right now my analytics, it tells you how many views you get from subscribers versus non-subscribers, and let me see here, where is it? Audience. Yeah. Actually, it's not even quite that bad lately. It's gotten a little bit better apparently. In the last 28 days, it's been 58.6% of the views came from non-subscribers. So more than half came from non-subscribers, and that's actually better. If I go to last 90 days, it's 67% of views come from non-subscribers. If I go last 365 days, it's even worse. So it's only a fraction of views that come from subscribers. And it's, as said, it's actually gotten better apparently. For a while it was ridiculous. It was like 10 or 20%. Anyway, thanks, Daniel. Always finding myself subscribed to random channels and unsubscribed from others. That still happens. Yeah, that's part of the whole subscription system being broken. I wish Albion would bring the Gallo Glass back. Right, it's been sold out for a while. It is nice for sure. Anyway, thank you. Thanks, Ovidio. Do you like watching fencing in the Olympics? No, it's not my thing. Would you like to see some version of HEMA as part of the Olympics? I'm honestly torn about that. On the one hand, yeah, it would be cool to see HEMA get the recognition that comes with being in the Olympics. On the other hand, it might be more sporterized, which is not necessarily a good thing. So it could be more abstracted and more removed from, you know, the reality of historical combat. Subscriptions really don't mean anything anymore, really. Yeah, I know. I am aware. On the plus side, that probably means that your videos are being shown to a lot of people who otherwise hadn't been introduced to your content. That would be good if they actually got to see my content, if they decide to subscribe. But chances are, you know, new people come in, they subscribe, so my subscription number or subscriber number gets even more inflated, and then they don't actually end up watching the stuff that I upload regularly because the subscription system doesn't work. So, yeah. Made a few purchases from Bud K. Actually, I'm wholly satisfied with them. I'm surprised. Bud K has a bit of a reputation for selling a lot of cheap stuff with dubious functionality, if any. But maybe they've changed. I don't know. Let's see, what else? Could you elaborate a bit on the difference between Italian rapier and destreza? Yeah. Italian rapier is... It's probably the more iconic form of it, or at least what you see more often is the kind of a wide, fairly low stance, can be lean forward, and there's a lot of, you know, binding blades, disengaging, thrusting, stuff like that. Whereas destreza, you know, Spanish rapier fencing is a completely different posture. So rather than having this wide, deep stance, you basically stand upright and you point the rapier like straight at them. It looks very stylish. It looks kind of contemptuous almost, and it works differently. Like there's a lot of circular sideways movements designed basically to gain mechanically or geometrically superior position to your opponent, and basically making them impale themselves on your blade. It's pretty boss. It's not easy, but you know, if you do it well, it makes you look like a total boss. If you don't do it well, it makes you look like a poser. And yeah, but it's interesting. Very different method. Yeah, getting rid of all the unnecessary censorship policies on YouTube, that would be important too, for sure. What do you think about Chad's new video about HEMA? I find it unbelievably bad. Okay, what did he do? I haven't seen it. What did he do? Can you just give me kind of a brief summary of what it is and what your problem with it is? While I look it up. How to use a long sword, Chad's HEMA philosophy. 41 minutes long. Yeah, I'm not going to watch that. That's too long. So you're going to have to give me like a summary. Are all of his videos long these days? Like they're all like half an hour, 40 minutes, half an hour. There's a 15, 26. They're way longer. Too much blah blah. I mean, I know some people really like the longer videos, and sometimes I make longer ones too, but I still kind of tend to aim for 10 to 15-minute range. Maybe I shouldn't, maybe it's old-fashioned, I don't know. Either way. So what's the problem with it? Basically, it's a big video about his views on HEMA, and it's easy to tell he does not have experience in the sport, and it's pretty cringy. Uh-oh. Yikes. It's kind of an ego where he takes a bit of a goofy shortcut in thinking he has enough knowledge without practice to effectively streamline HEMA without having sufficient expertise. Oh, okay. So you're saying there's some Dunning-Kruger effect at work here? Yeah, I don't know. I haven't watched it, and I haven't really seen him do enough fighting to say much. I remember seeing one video where he did some stuff with LARP swords, and yeah, technique-wise wasn't super impressive, but at the same time they were also just kind of goofing around, so that's okay if you're just having fun. But yeah, I don't know. Definitely not gonna talk shit about anyone without having seen it firsthand. It's funny, I actually just earlier, before the stream, recorded a video about elitism in HEMA, which is, you know, kind of related right now in that context. Is this stream quality okay? YouTube is bitching at me about it. I don't know. According to Streamlabs, it's fine, but thanks. Equivalent exchange. Would WD-40 work well on keeping blades from rusting? No, that's not really a good choice. There are a number of things you can use. Two of the simplest, most readily available options are, one, baby oil, you know, made from the finest of babies, or any kind of mineral oil. That's what it is. And two, ATF, automatic transmission fluid. Those are both cheap, and you know, you can find them everywhere basically, and they work. So that's kind of my recommendation. Have you ever tried or gotten to use an atlatl? Yeah, I actually made an entire video about it. You can check that out if you like. Have a fake beef with Shad to grow both your channels. Yeah, I know. That would work quite well if we did that. That's usually a very good way, you know, a cheap way to get a bunch of views, you know, fake drama. But no thanks. I have standards. There are too many channels that do shit like that, and I hate it, so fuck that. If there's a legitimate beef, then that's a different story, but just drama for views, nah. No thanks. Okay, that's a great autocorrect. Would you make more forearm vids? What does YouTube hate them? Yes, YouTube hates forearms with a vengeance. I know, it was supposed to be firearms. I haven't gotten to a range in quite a while, so, which sucks. I would like to get back to the range, but haven't had a chance lately. So yeah, I would definitely like to do more. I don't think these days YouTube is that anal about it. They've actually loosened up a lot of their guidelines, with regards to monetization. Like it's the self rating is more detailed now, and they've for example opened up on swearing, like profanity doesn't get you demonetized as much anymore, stuff like that. So I think they're okay with that actually these days. I think. Yes, forearm vids. Forearm vids. Yeah. ATF stinks. Oh. I've used ATF fluid before and it didn't really have that much of a smell. Maybe different brands are different in that regard. But yeah, mineral oil is good. Mineral oil has almost no scent at all. Like you can pretty much, it's pretty neutral in smell. Forearms ban, yeah. We need forearms licensing. Forearms regulation. Yeah, no. I'm all for arms. Also for the right to arm bears, Please don't have beef with Chad. I don't. I said I haven't seen that video. I don't know how much I disagree. Maybe I would disagree quite a bit, but I'm not the kind of guy to start beefs. Like I generally try to be, as reasonable as possible and, respectful. Shad seems to have gotten a bit of a big head and thinks he knows HEMA without any training. Not trying to shit on Shad, just an observation. Well, I mean, do you know how much training he's had? I don't. Just saying, I don't know either way, but I would generally urge caution about jumping to conclusions about people getting too much of an ego or being full of themselves on YouTube or whatever. I've seen that a lot where people just kind of assume that someone has an overblown ego just because they dare talk to a camera and are in the public space. But yeah, again, I don't really know in this case. Maybe he doesn't have enough training to talk about it. I can't tell you. I don't know. I haven't really looked that much into it because I do not have much time to watch other creators' video. And it's not just the time, it's also I tend to not, deliberately not really watch too much of what other people in the same niche do, because that kind of leads to, for example, if sometimes people have said, oh, you two just uploaded the video on the same topic shortly, one after the other. And it can be if you really keep up with what everybody else does, you can start to think, shit, he beat me to it. Oh, he just made a video about what I wanted to make a video about. No, I can't do it. Of course you can. So it's actually less distracting to just focus on my own stuff. That way I don't get sidetracked and don't think oh, this is not a good time to do that. Maybe I shouldn't do this. I'll just do it. Fuck it. At the same time, I'm of course missing out on opportunities to respond directly to what other people have said and done and things like that. It's give and take, pros and cons, ups and downs. you know? Most of us, this is how I do it stuff seems to be excessive humility. A disclaimer that results may vary. That's not necessarily wrong. I mean, you can overdo everything, including that probably. You can also overdo disclaimers, but I do think it's important to point out caveats and stuff. I mean, if you don't, then people are just going to throw the, oh, you think you're an expert number at you. So doomed if you do, doomed if you don't. Damned. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's how you say it. Anyway, so you're, you know, people will kind of bitch in your face no matter how you do it. If you're all confident about it, like, yep, this is the thing, they're going to be butthurt, like, oh, you think you know better than everybody else, you would-be expert. And if you make disclaimers and like, hey, this is just my perspective, this is how I do, oh, fake humility. I'm not trying to, accuse you of shitty criticism or anything. I'm just pointing out those are some pretty common tendencies I've seen in people's responses, you know. Just think Shadow relies too heavily on extrapolation. I mean, there can be an issue with like some people on YouTube are very theoretically oriented, so to speak, you know, without the practical aspect of trying things out and you know, doing things rather than just discussing things. Anyway. I really haven't watched enough of his videos to have a good idea of where he's at and what he's doing currently. We can own an LMG, but God forbid you want an AK-47. Yes. Yes, indeed. You can have a belt-fed semi-auto machine gun, but you cannot have an AK-47 in Canada. It's just whatever. It's weird. Anyway, thank you. Appreciate the super chats. They do help. There's rarely charity of interpretation on the internet. Yes. Giving people the benefit of the doubt is not really a well-known concept on the internet, it seems. Oh. Just a comment saying thank you. Is that directed at me or someone else? I don't know. Don't know what that's about. Anyway, I can't imagine why you'd want a semi-auto LMG. Just a heavy rifle at that point. Yeah, pretty much. But you could get around the magazine capacity restriction here legally. Because belt fed it's basically legally treated, like each link is essentially treated like a separate magazine of sorts in terms of legal classification. So yeah, it's weird. It's like you just have 100 single shot magazines as far as classification is concerned. It's dumb, but hey, it's something. Okay. No, Gray Clouds just sent a thank you super chat. All right. No, thank you. Thank you. No, thank you. Yeah. The thing about HEMA is you can't use scientific method. Yes, you can actually. That's what it's all about, because scientific method just means you gather data, you form a hypothesis based on the data, and then you test it. That's literally what HEMA is. Like you study the historical sources, you interpret them, you test out your interpretations. Based on, like, basically your interpretation is the hypothesis, pretty much. Then you test that, then you adjust it or discard it based on how it goes. So it is essentially a form of scientific method, just kind of on a more layperson level, if you will. It's maybe not the right term, but a non-academic form of scientific method, at least not formally academic. I have too much of an urge to nail every formulation down precisely and over clarify. Anyway. Is it kind of sad that for the most part melee fighting is obsolete now, thanks to firearms? Sad? I don't know. There's one good thing. I mean, probably more than one, but the best thing about firearms that I can think of is how much of an equalizer they are. Because if you have one, short, skinny, weak person versus a tall, strong, tough, and mean person, in a sword fight, the first person's screwed. If they have a gun, they have a chance. So it's an equalizer, which is a good thing, in my opinion. Like, people often focus on the part of, it's cowardly because now some random peasant can kill a knight. Well, yeah, sure, but in modern times, the upside of that is now, any innocent civilian has a chance to defend themselves against an attack, even from a physically superior assailant. Thane's ran to the video testing bronze weapons against mild steel a few years ago. Yeah, I remember watching that. Or at least part of it. Melee combat has its place. There's a reason BJJ is taught in the military. Yeah, well, sure, yeah. It's not like firearms have completely eliminated any kind of melee combat. I mean, it's generally more hand-to-hand compared to armed fighting, but it's not completely disappeared. Imagine having to defend yourself against multiple opponents with a sword, and then imagine with a gun. Yes. Indeed. I mean, yes, somebody brought up basically that a lot of firearms engagement happen at quite short distances, and grappling and other unarmed fighting techniques can still be quite important. Like, for example, you can, like, if you're rushed by some I don't know, someone completely off their mind on crack or whatever, you might shoot them a couple of times, they might still come for you, and then you still have to defend yourself in, at grappling distance. That can happen, stuff like that. Or, somebody getting the jump on you. But it's just, it's an additional tool, It's another tool that gives you options and possibilities that you wouldn't otherwise have. Extra chances, if you will. Anyway, I think I should wrap it up now. I just continue getting more and more tired, and I still have to edit the video I recorded just earlier, so I really just need to get going now. So thanks for hanging out. Hope you had fun. Thanks for the super chats and everything, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one.